7 silent moves that make avoidance crave your attention without you chasing them. There is a quiet power in silence, especially when you are dealing with someone who is emotionally avoidant, someone who runs from intimacy the moment it starts to feel too real, who craves closeness and yet gets terrified by it. If you have ever loved an avoidant, you already know the confusing dance. They pull away just when things feel good. They shut down when you get close, and they pretend they don't need you, until suddenly they come back craving your attention again. But here is the twist. Chasing them only pushes them further. The real magnetism lies in what you don't do. In this video, we are going to uncover 7 silent moves that make an avoidant crave your attention without you lifting a finger to chase them. These are not games. These are shifts in energy, behavior, and boundary that speak louder than words. 1. You stop explaining yourself. One of the first silent moves that shifts the power dynamic is when you stop over-explaining yourself. Avoidants are hypersensitive to emotional demands. When you try to justify your feelings, prove your worth, or beg for clarity, they feel smothered, even if you are simply trying to communicate. But when you go quiet, when you stop explaining why you are hurt, why you need more, or why you deserve better, something powerful happens. They notice. The absence of your justification becomes louder than your words ever were. It tells them you no longer feel the need to win them over. And that triggers curiosity, then concern, and eventually craving. You are no longer their emotional mirror. You have returned to yourself. That silence is magnetic. 2. You mirror their distance, but with peace. Here is where most people go wrong. They mirror the avoidance distance, but with anger. They play tit for tat. They withdraw, but with resentment. And the avoidant simply uses that as justification to retreat even further. But when you mirror their emotional distance with peace, everything changes. You become calm. You do not punish them. You simply match their energy without a word. That silent reflection unsettles the avoidant because you are not reacting. You are not chasing. You are simply not available. That subtle shift in tone, from reactive to detached, makes them wonder if you have finally moved on. And nothing gets an avoidant's attention faster than the fear that your inner world no longer revolves around them. 3. You become unreachable at random times. Avoidants crave connection on their terms. They want closeness, but only when they initiate it. So when you become unavailable, not as a strategy but as a byproduct of having a life, it scrambles their control. You do not need to block them or play games. Just disappear at times. Be busy. Be immersed in your passions, your work, your solitude. Don't respond right away. Don't announce your whereabouts. That unpredictability is not about punishing them. It is about reclaiming your own emotional rhythm. Avoidants thrive on knowing you are emotionally waiting in the wings, but when you are no longer on standby, they start wondering where your attention went. They crave it back, not because you took it away in anger, but because you silently reclaimed it. 4. You speak more with your energy than your words. Avoidants listen to energy more than language. You can say, "I'm fine," but if your energy is clinging or anxious, they will feel it, and they will back away. That is why emotional stillness is such a powerful move. When you enter a room or a conversation with relaxed, neutral energy, they feel it in their nervous system. They may not show it, but they register that you are no longer emotionally tangled with them. This calm energy tells them something important. I am no longer fighting for your attention. I am just here. This energetic detachment is not about coldness. It is about no longer outsourcing your peace to their behavior. And when you get there, they feel the void. They crave the emotional supply they used to receive, and now must come forward to access. 5. You no longer try to understand them. Avoidants often confuse people with their hot and cold behavior. Naturally, you want to understand them. You read, you analyze, you empathize, you make excuses for their trauma. But this becomes an invisible leash. The more you try to understand them, the more you center them as the emotional authority. One of the most silent but powerful moves is to stop trying to understand them. Just let their behavior speak for itself. Withdraw your emotional microscope. Sit with the fact that they may not change. That quiet acceptance hits harder than confrontation. It signals emotional maturity in that you are no longer hypnotized by the chaos. And this, ironically, makes them crave your understanding again, because they now realize it is no longer freely available. 6. You say no without explanation. This one is huge. When you start saying no without offering an emotional invoice, no long paragraphs, no nervous guilt, it shifts the dynamic instantly. Avoidants often test boundaries by seeing how far they can push without consequence. When you set a boundary silently, by declining an invitation, not engaging in a cold conversation, or refusing to chase after vague messages, it sends a message they cannot ignore. It says, I am not angry, I am just not available for anything that violates my peace. You are not loud about it. You are not even rude. But that quiet firmness feels like a wall. And avoidants, who often navigate relationships based on control, suddenly feel out of control. And it is in that moment that they crave what they once took for granted: your openness, your softness, your yes. 7. You choose stillness over reaction. Avoidants often provoke emotional responses, whether consciously or not. They may ghost you, respond with coldness, or disappear during moments of intimacy. Why? Because that emotional chaos makes them feel in control. It keeps things on their terms. But when you stop reacting, when you do not send the angry text, when you do not call out their silence, when you do not show up in panic, they lose the dynamic they are used to. Stillness is not passivity, it is power. It means you are observing, not reacting. And in that stillness, something flips. They start to wonder what you are thinking, feeling, doing. They miss your intensity because they were always feeding off it. Your silence becomes the loudest voice in the room, and they cannot stop listening. You see, these silent moves are not about manipulation. They are about reclaiming your energy. When you stop investing your emotional labor into someone who cannot reciprocate, something miraculous happens. You start to glow differently. Your energy becomes clean, unburdened, sovereign. Avoidants, who are used to being the emotional center of your universe, suddenly feel its absence. And in that space, they start to crave you, not because you begged, but because you stopped. You stopped proving, fixing, saving, explaining. You stopped feeding the loop. And that silence, it echoes in their mind. The calm detachment, the quiet boundaries, the unbothered absence. It is what draws them back in. But here is the truth. This only works if it is genuine. You cannot fake stillness. You cannot pretend to let go while secretly watching your phone. You cannot act busy. You must be busy. You must rebuild your life so fully that their inconsistency no longer rattles you. That is the paradox of emotional magnetism. The more you come home to yourself, the more others feel pulled to you, especially the ones who used to take you for granted. So let them feel your silence. Let them sit with the version of you that no longer needs to be needed. That is where your power is.